Hello, good morning, and welcome to another session about Kubernetes, where we will talk about the key concept and architecture related to the Kubernetes and uh, uh, like how ACK runs containerized application efficiently. So Alibaba Cloud Container Services for Kubernetes, which is ACK, integrates virtualization, storage, network, container orchestration, container-centric infrastructure orchestration, self-healing mechanism, service discovery, load balancing, and security capabilities. ACK allows you to deploy application in high performance and scalable container and provides full lifecycle management of enterprise class containerized application. So, as you know, Kubernetes is a hot topic these days, and based on this report, by 2025, application container market to expand at 26.5% CAGR, which is 8.2 billion US dollar in volume. So different type of regions and company sizes, they are willing to move their applications in a containerized way. Earlier, most of the organization they deployed the application in a monolithic way, where each and everything will be as a centralized environment. But as soon as the containers, the Kubernetes concept is there, which is more scalable, more fast, more available, you can say. So number of organizations are looking for the solution to deploy their application in a containers. So as you can see here, based on the Forrester Wave, Alibaba Cloud named a leader in public cloud container platform while delivering these Kubernetes services. So we have a full end-to-end solution for your Kubernetes application, containerized application to deploy in Alibaba Cloud Container Services or Kubernetes environment. Myself, Ghulam Qadir, a senior solution architect in Alibaba Cloud META Region, responsible for different type of digital transformation of the organization, supporting their migration process from other hyperscalers, the on-premises environment to Alibaba, and we already deployed a number of services, number of solutions for our end users. Uh, Before moving off, about the containerized application efficiency session, let's have a look about Alibaba Cloud overview about infrastructure. So currently we are delivering our services in more than 200 countries, which covers 29 regions, and we have 88 physical availability zones across the globe. On top of that, we have 3,200 plus CDN nodes, which ensure that the end user may not face any latency issue while accessing the resources on Alibaba Cloud. And currently, we have more than 250 products available in our international market, which covers your whole requirement for infrastructure as a service, which covers computing, network, and storage, and platform as a service, which is database, big data, artificial intelligence, and IoT. And on top of that, different type of industry and application engines, which covers media processing, video streaming, video on demand, middleware for RabbitMQ, RocketMQ, Apache Kafka, application configuration management, and real-time monitoring services as well. For management of your resources, Cloud Monitor, Action Trail, Terraform capabilities, we have mobile enterprise services and different type of security services, which covers your application, data, network, and security center requirement as well. And let's move ahead and discuss about how ACK runs containerized application efficiently in Alibaba Cloud Platform. So here in the screen, you can see we have an end-to-end application management solution, which covers your whole requirement for cloud operations, DevOps, dev security operations, finance operations, AI-based operations, and security operations as well. So for cloud operations, if we are talking about auto scaling, log services, our ARMS, which is application real-time monitoring services, certificate management, cluster backup, external DNS, and Terraform provisioning is a part of our cloud operations. And at the same time, DevOps like ACR, our container registry, which helpful for to manage your own repositories, your own images in a private environment, application center, KMS, security center, and number of other products are available, which covers the DevOps and dev security operations. And financial operations, if we're talking about the comprehensive analysis of your infrastructure, how you can analyze your cost will helpful in fin operations. AI based, which cluster security and container intelligence services will cover the AI based operations. And for security, again, policy governance, zero trust, secret manager, security center, RRSA is a part of our ACK environment. At the same time, if you have a requirement to deploy your ACK cluster, your Kubernetes cluster in multi regions or multi clouds, so we are very much capable to deploy this requirement for you. So simple application deployment, comprehensive observability is a part of our solution. Different type of service endpoints, ingress, nginx, MSC gateways, application load balancer, and ASM gateways can be helpful to deploy ACK, Alibaba Cloud Container Services, and Kubernetes as a hosted environment as well. So before moving ahead, let's have a look about cloud native objects. So there are number of options are available in our ACK environment in a fully managed environment. So for deployment units, we have pod. For networking, we have services. For storage, we can create persistent volumes, isolations, namespaces concept is there. For application, we can have a replica sets, pod management, deployments, and in a similar way, there are number of options from authentication to scalability to storage to task execution. Everything can be managed in a fully managed way from a single console itself. And here again, one example of our end-to-end application management, where you can deploy your ACK, Alibaba Cloud Container Services for Kubernetes on multiple regions in Hong Kong, in Singapore, or even with other cloud vendors as well, or on-premises environment. So our Kubernetes services is very much flexible to deploy using application center, which can be integrated with the container registries, which where like image scan, image signature application in a very efficient and secured way using KMS and Security Center will give you a smooth deployment of your application. And on top of that, as soon as the more and more users are accessing your resources, auto scaling, secret management, OSS is our object storage services, certificate manager will help you to scale your application as it needs. And cost analysis, different type of costing analysis directly can be deployed from the cluster environment, AI-based operation, and observability, where your log services, logging, tracing, ingress access center, or Prometheus monitoring, which can monitor your cluster, your network, your deployments directly from the console itself. At the same time, if you have a requirement for the private zone DNS or gatekeeper or different type of authorization policies, so our comprehensive solution is here to support you on different type of your requirements. And for cloud native observability, if we are talking about using different type of heterogeneous data sources, open source, so our comprehensive solution for the cloud native observability, log services, Grafana services, Prometheus, and ARMS, which is application real-time monitoring services, is there. So, you can monitor your resources like Cloud Monitor, your auditing for Action Trail, application monitoring, Kubernetes monitoring, application front end. Everything can be monitored using our cloud native observability tools, which is a part of our managed solution in ACK, Alibaba Cloud Container Services for the Kubernetes. And out of the box dashboard, if we're talking about the ingress monitoring, you want to know about your PVs, your UVs, and inbound traffic, outbound traffic, what different type of uh, uh, like uh, uh, 404 or 5 series, different type of accessibility happening on your infrastructure or your resources. So using this comprehensive dashboard, you can monitor your ingress environment as well. Then for log collection, we have a simple log services, which after each and every minute, you can collect different type of logs using our log services. You can create a log store. You can define your dashboards. You can monitor. You can analyze different type of traffic hitting to your infrastructure as well. And on top of that, you can create your alerts and notification, which can helpful to monitor your resources in Alibaba environment. And for cluster monitoring of Prometheus, if we're talking about again the full solution, as you can see from this uh, screenshot, like multiple type of options directly can be accessible using ACK. Prometheus is one of them. You can enable the services which can helpful to monitor your nodes, application, network, storage, GPU, or cost analysis happening on your environment. And the same thing I will show you in the demo, like how you can enable these services directly from the console itself. And let's move on to the demo, and I will show you like how different type of options and services are available with Alibaba Cloud. So before starting this container services for Kubernetes, let's talk about the container registry. So where you can connect different type of repositories directly under your account. So currently we are offering two different type of editions. One is personal edition, one is enterprise edition. So let's move on to my personal edition, where I have an option to create different type of namespaces, repositories. I already create a namespace which is the private, you can say. So in a private environment you can manage all of your images from the console itself. And once you create a repository, so this repository will give you access of all different type of images and resources which you want to deploy on the platform. Code source, if we are talking about, so code up is there. GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab can directly be bind with any of your account. So let's go into the repository. If once I go into my repository environment, I have a full detail that how efficiently I can access on a public endpoints through VPC, virtual private cloud, or on intranet, how different type of endpoints options are available. What are the in the guide section, you can see how I can log in with my Alibaba Cloud Docker container registries. The login details are there. How you can pull the images, push images, choose your repository addresses. Some of the samples you can see, different type of tags, different type of version can easily be managed in a repository environment. And as soon as you deploy an image, so we have an option for the deploy here, which can helpful for the direct cluster creation, or you can select uh, already created cluster so that you can deploy those images into your ACK environment. So three different type of network, either it is VPC, public endpoint, or intranet. How different type of repositories options are available. You can deploy on ACK, which is Alibaba Cloud Container Services for Kubernetes, and platform as a service as well. Under ACK, we have an option for ACK and ASK, which is a serverless environment. If I select platform as a service, so our serverless application engine will be activated, or function compute, which is again a serverless environment in Alibaba Cloud. So once we have a container registry, so directly we have an option to deploy these services to the cluster as well. And at the same time, we have our ACK, which is Alibaba Cloud Container Services for Kubernetes. So in the overview, you will find like I already create one cluster, and at the same time, we have an option to create a cluster, authorization, then multi-cluster environment, backup center, application center is a part of this our ACK offerings. So we have different type of templates available to helpful to create on a quickly basis. Professional managed Kubernetes cluster, heterogeneous, confidential, managed edge, ECS bare metal. There are a number of by default cluster templates are available here. Otherwise, you can click on the create a cluster, and you can choose all these different type of options directly from based on your choice as well. So this is managed Kubernetes, ACK, serverless environment, edge, and register cluster option is available. Let me create one managed cluster. I named it ACK APP. It's a professional cluster. I suppose to select the region. Let's choose Singapore, and billing method is pay as you go and subscription, and different versions are available here. Either I want to deploy IP version 6 if it is there, so I can enable this one. VPC is a virtual private cloud. I already create a VPC in Singapore. So two different options for them to manage your network planner, which is directly communicate with the VPC, or Teraway, which give you an extra layer of controlling of your network using IPv LAN, support for network policies, and ENI tracking as well. So this is most advanced tearaway option is also available. I can enable, disable these features. vSwitches I will deploy in zone A. So Singapore zone A, I create vSwitch, and the port deployment will also be in zone A. Then the service EIDR, it is recommended, but again, we are very much flexible based on your requirement. You can choose your own CIDR box. SNET enable this access for API server through server load balancer, security groups, and delete protection is there so that even through APIs or just by mistake, no one can delete any of the resources related to this cluster. So I just make it enable resource group just to isolate if you want to track for any specific project or any specific department. So you can create a resource group as well. Next is a pool, node pool configuration, the name of the node pool, manage node pools, and the containerized runtime we have 1.6.20. And then we supposed to select the resources, what type of instances I want to deploy. For example, I select 4 CPU and 16 GB RAM, but again, it depends upon your requirements. Uh, Here in the zone, you can see zone A, ABC, ABC in Singapore, we have 3 availability zones, so that's why it is showing 3 different options. We have generation 7, we have generation 6, generation 5. So let's choose generation 7. And I have an option like how many nodes I want to deploy, how many the virtual machines I want to create on top of this. So let me choose 1 unit only. Otherwise, if I select 2, I have to select 2 different options here. System disk is there, so I have an option to create up to 2 terabyte of my system disk. I can attach my data disk as well. Which operating system I want to deploy? There are number of options. I will select Alibaba Cloud Linux 3.2104. Security reinforcement, login type. I want to create a key pair or password. Let me create a password uh, for my this deployment. And once I select all these things, this username is for the root. Public IP, you want to enable the IP version 4 for each and every node. The option is available once I select. So the traffic, the bandwidth options are available, pay by data, transfer, or the bandwidth. So I will not select this part. Cloud monitor will automatically be activated. And for component configuration, we have ingress, multiple options for ALB, for MSC, and for public or internal network, it will be deployed on a server load balancer. Service discovery, our volumes, monitoring, log services, and alerts configuration if you want to see log collection for control plane, and cluster inspection. There are for security disk, we can activate, we can deactivate, we can enable these features on our platform. Okay, next is confirm the order, and based on the cluster deployment, my ACK cluster I want to deploy in Singapore, this version, and different type of resources, VPC, vSwitches, container which I select. Then the cluster component, which is network for tearaway, volume plugins, ingress, and log services. At the same time, what will be the worker load, which I select our generation 7, and server load balancer for API, server, and ingress. At the same time, ENIs, ROS, our resource orchestrator, auto scaling, security group, RAM, NAT gateway, and elastic IP, which is requirement to deploy along with the cluster, will automatically be selected. And the next part is dependency checks. As I already activate or assign the authorization for the relevant resources, so that's why the status is showing as passed. If you feel like ACK activation or RAM role authorization check is failed, something happened, so some instruction will be there, just follow the instruction and you will be activate these services, and at the end definitely the status should be showing as a passed. So that's it. I will accept the terms and the condition and create a cluster. So the pricing and the billing, everything will be displayed here. So this is how you can create a managed Kubernetes cluster in Alibaba Cloud. I already create one cluster in my platform. So let me go into my uh, Kubernetes services for container services for Kubernetes, and because it will take like 10 to 15 minutes to create this cluster. So I already prepare create one cluster ACK application, and it is in a running condition. You can see deployments, pods, and statefuls, different type of options. In the previous slide, I show you like different type of deployment, stateful, jobs, pods, services, replica sets. All is a part of our this managed solution. So you can find the namespaces here, which can isolate any type of your deployment, stateful, jobs. In network, we can have a services, ingresses. For configuration, we have config map, secrets. For volume, we can do a persistent volume or storage classes. For application, we have again another options for inspection and diagnostics. For operations like event center, Prometheus monitoring, as you can see here, then log center, add-ons we can add, cost suite is there, cost insight, and the security for authorization role and cluster auditing. And for this Prometheus, you can see we can monitor our whole overviews for application, for network, for GPU. Number of options are available here where we can monitor different type of resources directly from the Alibaba Cloud Console only. So in this demo, I will use one example from Kubernetes, how to deploy WordPress and MySQL with persistence volumes. For that purpose, only we need to create a secret MySQL resources and WordPress resources. So we can find MySQL deployments and WordPress deployment YAML files from this, and I can directly download. So here you can see I already download MySQL deployment and a WordPress deployment. So what I will do, I will create a persistent volumes, so that how we can manage our resources directly from the like uh, from the console only, persistent volumes. For this purpose, I supposed to create two disks. I create in Singapore two disks, one for WordPress and one for MySQL, and I create persistent volumes for MySQL and WordPress, and then the claim for these two PVs I just created here, and I supposed to create one secret also for MySQL deployment, so that these persistent volume I just copy from the same, like MySQL PV claim, and for WordPress we have WPV PV claim. And for MySQL, we're supposed to create a password. So MySQL password we will create in our secret configurations secrets. So let's create one password. So this is the name of MySQL pass, and the key value will be password. So let's create one key value for password. The name will be password, and the value whatever password you want to keep for your deployments. I just keep the default, the simple password only. Let's process this one, and you will see the secret is already created here. The next part is how we can deploy. uh, in this, firstly I will deploy the MySQL. I just copy all these things, and I have an option to create from the image. So I can select each and everything manually here, or I can choose my YAML coding file as well. So there are a number of sample templates are available to deploy for deployments, for pods, for services, like all these different type of options which are available for the ACK is available here. So I will choose the custom option, paste the same things as the PV I already created. So I will remove these PVs, and will try to deploy this. In this deployment, I will create one service and one deployment. So based on the deployment, the pods will automatically get created as well. So let's create this MySQL. Click on this create button, and you will find the deployments. Uh, one MySQL is in process, and at the same time, the pods is in the pending phase. It will take a little time because with this deployment, it will create Apache server and Nginx, so that then MySQL, so that it can be deployed. It can be created or linked with the WordPress database as well. So here you can see the pod one by one is automatically created. I will go into the WordPress MySQL and you can see the status is showing as running, and what are the resources in terms of CPU, RAM, monitoring we can have an access, in which zone we deployed, what type of security groups and we switches, and the port addresses are there. Different type of access methods, like we deployed MySQL, which is available on 3306 port, the events which happening for the deployments here, then for the pod scaling history, and different type of logs which are created while creating this deployment, and any type of trigger is deployed. And let's go into the pods. Now you will see the pod is in a running state for MySQL 8.0, and these are different type of CPU and resources utilization. And if we go into the services, so you will find WordPress MySQL service is created, and it will be linked with the local environment, with the internal environment only. So based on this, you can find our first deployment which we deployed for the MySQL database is done, and the pods are showing in the running state. And the next part is we will deploy the WordPress itself. Let's copy the same and go into the deployment. Same way, create a YAML, and I will select the custom option here, paste the same things, and the PVs, I will uh, remove this PVs, the persistent volumes. uh, this is the WordPress deployment will be on port 80. It will be deployed on a load balancer. Which version of the WordPress will be deployed, what are the username and the password will be used. So everything, what is the mount path, which is in HTML based, and the claim PV we already created earlier. Let's create this one and we'll see what happens now. Okay, this is in process. We'll go into the deployments. Now the second deployment for WordPress is in progress, and for the pods, you can see the second pod is also in process to create the container environment. And let's move on to the services area. Now you can see the WordPress service is available. Based on the load balancer, we can monitor all these services. So the port will be 80, and this is the external endpoint, the IP address of the deployment, you can say. So let's see. Yes, so now you can see the pod one by one is available here. I can go into the WordPress and I can see this pod is in a running state, and all these different type of options which we can see, different type of events scaled up for the replicas, everything is available here. For the logs and for the triggers, everything you can see directly from the deployment. Both the pods are in running state. The services, the third service is available here. Once we will go into this IP address, you will see the WordPress options will be available to deploy, to run this environment in Alibaba Cloud Platform. So at the same time, like if you want to go and have a look about the cluster inspections, the diagnostic related to this deployment, so you can find different type of options in this environment. So event center is there where it can track different type of events. Prometheus monitoring, which just now I showed you earlier, like how we can monitor different type of resources directly from our environment. And this is node request for memory average, for CPU average. Number of different options are available. Application monitoring is there. You can see the age, the replica set, and other information related to the monitoring environment. For network, you can monitor your network as well, your GPU, or other different type of monitoring can easily be managed in this platform as well. Log center, we can have a cluster log, like log for the control plane, for network components, for application log. Different type of options are available. For cost insights, it is activating these services. Then for authorization and other things can easily be managed here. And for the log services, we have SLS as mentioned earlier. This is the log services. As soon as we will move on to the log services, you will find a different type of dashboards, and resources will automatically be get created once we create this cluster. So this is our log services. So this is I just know I created this environment, this log services for my this Kubernetes cluster. So once I move ahead, you will find different type of auditing information is available here. You will find like we have a different type of dashboards as well, where we can configure, we can manage our CV vulnerabilities. We have elastic autoscaling, node operations, audit centers. So everything, different type of options is available under the same platform. How many total events have happens, public visits, unauthorized visits. So different type of options related to resources, the products which we are deployed for certificate, for secrets, for services, deployment ports, and operation trajectory. Everything can be managed here. This is resource operations are there. So again, you can have a proper look like how different type of resources are accessible. So you can configure different type of alerts and notification on top of that environment as well. So this is purely related to Kubernetes cluster, Kubernetes deployments, which can helpful, and you can monitor different type of resources directly from the platform itself. So this is the cluster information. You can see again how many deployments, the pods, and what are the different status about your deployment is happening here, cluster resources, your connections information, your basic information, everything can be seen here. This is for the namespaces and all different type of objects which are a part of this Alibaba Cloud Kubernetes container services for Kubernetes cluster. So you can find directly from the cluster itself. So I hope this will helpful for you to understand more about how you can deploy any type of application directly on Alibaba Cloud Container Services for Kubernetes. Still, you have any question, you can reach to us, and sure, we will be more than happy to answer any of your questions. That's it. Thank you. Thanks for joining our today's session. I hope this session will be helpful for you. For any query, we will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you. See you again.